Yeah.
What's going on?
Dude, nothing in the world. How you doing, man?
Heck yeah, man, doing good.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. That's awesome.
See what's up with everybody.
I like it. It makes me quite happy, man. I meant to. I can't believe I should have already gotten in touch with you on this factoid, but this works out better for me anyway, man. But I'm actually off tomorrow, and I'm off the next Sunday too. So if you want to return to the Sunday shows, we can. However, this is great. So
Hey
I'm
man,
happy about it.
however we can work it out, get it
Dude,
down.
seriously, we're gonna make it work, brother. Excuse me.
Man, I guess it's some of the biggest news of what's going on. But I was having to tell Josh, I was just sitting here watching the proclamations come across live on the YouTube, and I don't know how live it is, but it says live, so I trust it. But it's just you know, all I could, I'm sitting there watching it, and all I could think is just Charles just he's had this look on his face like pretty much forever, as long as I've been alive. It's like, yeah, I don't want to do this, but
Uh,
I'm stuck, and seeing how mom and dad both lived to like 95 and 96, I'm screwed.
I got to do this for 25 years.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh God.
It's just honest to God, it's just like this. I don't know who the person is that's reading off all these declarations and he's approving and approving and approving. Like, can't we just sign the book? I want to
Come
sit down and sign the book.
on. I know what it says. We all know what it says. Come on.
Hmm. And I'm gonna all I could hear was the song. Her Majesty was a pretty nice girl, but she didn't have a lot to say. Going over and over in my head, and that was the overwhelming thing that I think was, and it almost made me think too of there was a Saturday Night Live skit a few years ago where it's Fred Armisen and they're playing like this kind of Sex Pistols esque punk thing, and
Oh
somebody
man.
brings up the Queen's like, "Hey, yeah, she was a nice lady."
Yeah, it was Thatcher. It was
Oh,
Margaret
oh,
Thatcher.
Thatcher.
It
Okay.
was Margaret Thatcher he was in love with, which is just I love that. The history of punk. I mean, Fred Armisen's punk rock voice is fantastic, which isn't a surprise to anybody. But yeah, man, they get talking about it's a very Mighty Wind style joke when they're talking about how he's writing pro Thatcher punk songs, and then the band broke up because they couldn't stand it anymore, and he kind of has his return to form, and I cannot remember the name of the song, but he's like playing the song and it's like, yeah, he's back, it's fantastic, and it was really a return to form. Unfortunately, it was coupled with the B-side, Sweet Iron Lady. Sweet Iron Lady is so funny, man. It was coupled with the B-side, Sweet Iron Lady. So all these years later, he's still in Thatcher.
Oh man, but this has nothing to do with nothing. But talking about mockumentary songs always makes me think of Christopher Guest, which makes me think of last weekend. It was Turner Classic Movies did like Christopher Guest night where,
Oh yeah.
and one of the things that always irks me, it's not a TCM thing, it's any channel thing. It's like, if whatever marathon you're doing, show them in order of which they were released.
Yeah, I agree.
And I've so when I'm watching it on my own, I'll throw in anything I want. But
I
when
can
you're
do
gonna
whatever I want to.
schedule it on the ticker, I want it in order of when they came out. But they did like, it was Best in Show, then Waiting for Guffman, then Spinal Tap. And
Wow.
I get saving Spinal Tap for that. That's like the main event. But the thing, anyway, the whole point, the only thing I'm trying to get to is I could not. It's not that I didn't remember it, but I was so thrilled because I had forgotten the part of Waiting for Guffman. It's the auditions,
Oh
and you have
God.
the Fred Willard and his wife. You have Eugene Levy playing the doctor go in. And you have Parker Posey doing Teacher's Pet. But the part that had me rolling was this guy that you only see him in this movie the one time, and you never see him in any other Christopher Guest movie again. But he's doing lightnings striking again and again.
And again, and again. I love that.
I freaking was laughing this whole week over that.
Dude, They used to back in. I mean, I'm sure they still do. But when I worked at the liquor store and we would just put the satellite radio on like 60s day, that song would play all the time, and I every time I heard it, I just thought about that dude. It's every single time I was cracking up. It killed me. That whole thing killed me. So yeah, I love the lightning striking guy.
Again and again.
It's so good, man.
Man, it's good stuff. But if you're out there, if you happen to be watching this overseas, God save the Queen, and hopefully everything's gonna be all good and chilling out.
Yeah, it was strange. I was talking with someone about it, and they're like, "Man, she was 96. How could it surprise anybody?" I'm like, "I don't think it surprised anybody. It just sucks. There's a lot of people that were huge fans of that lady, and it sucks for them, and I hate it for them." And yeah, man, it's just
when
like,
something like this happens and it dawns on you that pretty much everyone in my family and everyone I know, that's the only Queen we've ever known.
I agree totally. I was thinking the same thing. It's like I think that everybody, literally every person I know, and probably most people I've ever known, that was it. Not all of them, but most of them. And then, like you said, right now, heck yeah, everybody left. Everybody that's still here, dude. That's all any of us have known. You're totally right.
The people that were in my family that would have known someone else are long gone and would have
Yeah,
no recollection of who was before anyway, for the most part. So,
it's true, man. It's a massive, massive changing, literal changing of the guard, man. Yeah, it's just it's a huge deal for a whole lot of people, and it's like I said, it's not a surprise. It just sucks. It
and
sucks.
I guess one of the sucky things too is that when I was sitting here watching some of the proclamation stuff, it's like I I don't know why it is, but of all the stuff that's coming out about Queen Elizabeth and everybody's stories, like just how pleasant she was and how nice she was, and like everybody has another thing that's been uh, a theme my whole life is everybody just despises Charles, and it was coming through on the chat. I was like, oh Christ, here they go talking their bull mess. It's like, man, I'm sorry him and Diana didn't work out, but they didn't want to be together anyway. So let that go, Jesus Christ. Please move on.
Charles got a bit of a reprieve because of the some of the stuff on the Crown.
Mhm.
He is portrayed at least as a little kid very sympathetically, and it's oh, who was it? The fellow who kicked the bucket, not Philip, isn't it?
Philip, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was him. It might have not have been, but I'm pretty sure it's Philip that is the absolute heel on that show, and it's like yeah, it's different. They don't bury the queen either, but they don't. You know, it's a great show. It was at least the last time I watched it. It was the coolest thing about that is the handoff because I can't remember. How did I forget her freaking name? Oh my God. But anyway, you've got the two actresses that play her, and not at the same time. They hand off halfway through. And it's Olivia Colman in the second half, and I can't believe I forgot her name. But it's incredible. They are both, me saying Olivia Colman is outstanding. Anybody that recognizes the name knows that if she shows up, it's out of this world.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have to look that up in a minute. It's gonna make me crazy because I know it's Claire Foy. That's what I was gonna say, man. It's like she was so famous for doing the first two seasons of that show, and how in the world I forget that? But it's a great show, and I know the views of it are gonna go through the roof. But that's cool. That's all good. Anybody that hasn't seen it yet, they are in for a hoot and a holler because it's really good. But yeah, the Charles stuff, especially when he's a little kid, man, it's hard to watch, man. It's very difficult to watch. I will also say this because I'm a jerk and a cretin. But you have I'm pretty sure it's Margaret. Margaret is Elizabeth's sister. I believe that's right. Margaret eventually turns into Helena Bonham Carter, which is wonderful because when's it ever not fun to see her? But the original actress, and all I mean by original is just when they do the time jump, the first half. If I remember correctly, this is terrible, but it's true. If I remember correctly, it's an actress named Vanessa Kirby, and she's very good. Obviously, everybody on that show is really good. But Vanessa Kirby is one of those people that it was probably 3 or 4 episodes of me watching that show. before I was distracted by what she looks like. That is one of the most, like, just take your breath and your ability to listen away beautiful people I have ever. It's unbelievable. She is unbelievable, man. But don't make the mistake I did. Or if you need to get through it like I did, man, just pause and just look at her, count to 26, and then watch, because she's really, really good. But it's just, she's a distractingly beautiful woman. Oh my gracious.
Yeah, I've heard that story with some like EMS workers and people in that line of work. It's like when you come across your first horrific thing, is you just have to get and you have to stare,
Yeah.
and then you can work.
And
And that's the one extreme. The other extreme is like when you have one of those people that comes in that's kind of like, I forgot my name. You just have to kind of take a minute.
Dude, seriously, there are certain people that you will come across in your life, at which point it's a good thing that breathing is involuntary, because it's just dry. It's like, man, if I had to remember to make my heart beat, I'd be dead right now.
Oh man, happened again. Jesus.
Oh, but then again.
Ah, crap.
Ah, Christ.
I went to Christ.
Ah, what the Christ. I was thinking the same, man. Why is what the Christ so immortally hilarious? That is just, what the Christ.
Man, my other thing that I woke up to this past weekend, and I was kind of like, what in the heck happened? Was I didn't watch the AEW show last Sunday, but I woke up, and when here's my other thing. I guess one of the things that annoys me the most about the AEW stuff, the news that's come out this week, is like, who termed it a media scrum? That's the dumbest freaking name I've ever heard. Can we please change that? What's wrong with the press conference?
But the press conference would work a lot better. I would like that better. Yes, media scrum is just, it's just stupid. It just sounds dumb.
When you call it a media scrum, it sounds like you are intentionally trying to, well, this is going to be our talk shit session. And
it's always
going to come out of it.
It's always felt that way to me, as far as like, it's basically, it's when people, it reminds me of, oh man, remember when The Miz killed Bryan Danielson on Talking Smack? Oh man, people actually believed that, which I still don't know how in the world people believed that, because everything he says is so stilted and so rehearsed. And I'm like, how can you not tell?
Yeah.
How can you not? I just don't understand that. And the thing with the AEW story I don't understand is stilted and rehearsed. And this is not to criticize the guy. It's just to try and say that I can't believe people think this is real. Is the stuff that Hangman talked junk to Punk about, and people, that was scripted. It was so obvious that he was saying things that he remembered to say. I just don't know how people, I guess ultimately, big picture, that so many people are hanging on this like it is real. It is incredible to me. In my opinion, it is absolutely incredible, because AEW has revolutionized the game with this. Even Vince would never try and do this, because he'd never trust anybody to get out there and kick it. I'll prove it to you. The closest he ever got was the paint bomb. If you actually cut Phil Brooks loose, he'll do what he did last weekend. It was amazing. And it's so crazy to me that people believe it's real. Well, Jim Cornette, one of two things is going on with Corny. He's either in on it, because he only talked about this exact thing with the Young Bucks 10 years ago, or you've put him in a position where you're giving him exactly what he wants. Of course he wants to believe it. I think he's working with them. I've always thought he was working with them, at least from the, well, man, have you ever heard, you listen to JR? Man, JR, he can't stand it. JR's miserable. He can't stand working at AEW. And it's like, it's because they gave him your role, man. Yeah. If you wanted to come in and manage the Revival and talk crap about the promotion, they would have done that and given you the money. But you didn't, so they get JR to do it. It's all good, man. But one way or the other, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Jim Cornette is a great storyline. And the thing about Mike and Jeff Youngbuck, and they ain't never left a nickel on the table if it was a chance they could make it. They literally provoked WWE into a cease and desist, so they could then make a T-shirt that said cease and desist, and then come up with the finishing hole. I mean, come on, man. They know exactly what they're doing. And with Punk, Basically, what you did is you went out for all the talk about so-and-so is the best promo in the business, and such is the best promo in the business, and The Miz, and MJF, and Bray Wyatt, who I love dearly. But even as far as what we're talking about with promos, ain't nobody half as good as Punk. I said I was going to say this, or I didn't say it earlier. I will say it now. What CM Punk is doing right now is what Jim Carrey did in that documentary they made on the set of Man on the Moon. He is taking improv and just stream of consciousness creativity. It's the shit Shia LaBeouf tried to do and wasn't talented enough to do it. Shia LaBeouf's a talented son of a gun. I'm just saying, Phil Brooks is a very smart guy, and what he's doing, man, this is revolutionary stuff. It's incredible, and I really, really like it. And it's just one of those things where you just had the chairman of WWE step down. Changed that narrative real quick, didn't they? And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing they were able to do that. And the whole thing is, Tony Khan has no problem playing the punchline because he understands in modern marketing, you better. Someone's going to have to. Someone's got to be the butt of the joke. And if you position yourself to be the butt of the joke, you will make a hell of a lot more money than you would otherwise, because the whole game now is retweets. If I can get you to @ me and retweet me, thank you for your service, because you just made me a shit ton of money. It doesn't cost nothing. Twitter's free. Twitter didn't cost me nothing. Nah, but it cost those advertisers that want you to buy their shit. And that is where that money is coming from. You and I talk about it, man. People always say, athletes are just paid too much money, and I'm not going to buy those tickets and put that money in their pocket. Now, if you buy a ticket, that money goes to the owner. Television contracts, as in cable TV, as in national advertising for products, there is an absolute through line with salaries in sports and the, influx of corporate money. That's where that came from. If we as fans were actually paying the salaries those guys make, man, it would cost you $100,000 every time you went to the game, man. And that's not us. That's not what we do. But stuff like that, it's very interesting. I'm with you. I skipped the pay-per-view mainly because there really just wasn't anything on it I was terribly interested in, to be totally honest with you. Because, if you put FTR in a 6-man, I'm not into it. And as far as this worked out really well for me, as far as the trios titles are concerned, once Tony stripped the Bucks and Kenny of the belts, the match they had on, I think Dynamite is I think Dynamite's Monday or Friday, Wednesdays. Geez, that was the one I wanted to see anyway, and it was awesome. It was that worked out very well for me, man. AEW, one thing that's good. Picture in picture is annoying as shit. It really is, because it's every single match, usually multiple times per match, and that's annoying as hell, because I know pro wrestling apparently is supposed to be all about the promos, but I don't care about that shit. I've never seen anybody who was a good enough talker to make me give a damn and stick around. And I grew up on Dusty Rhodes, for God's sake, but it's like, ain't nobody that good. So if you're cutting the action down to this big, it's frustrating to me. Pay-per-views are fun because they leave full screen all the time, and that's cool. But as far as who gets scheduled and the matches they put on free TV, AEW's best company's ever been. I mean, it's not even close. And anyway, I got way sidetracked. But the trios titles are officially fun now. No offense to Kenny and the Bucks. I love those guys, but I don't need them to be those champions. But if what they are doing is a work, and I'm 100% convinced it is, because if it wasn't, things get shut off. If it's on television, if it's like the media scrum wasn't on television, yeah, but it's on their website. It's on YouTube. Yeah. Have they pulled it yet? Because that's exactly what Tony wanted him to do. I'm not saying Tony wrote it. I'm telling you, nobody wrote it. That's why it sounded as good as it did. Mm-hmm. But for me, the number one tell is when the second question comes up and the guy is all talking about, it seems to me the question is about, I'm sorry, I don't remember now what it was, man, but like the second question.
I don't know that I even heard it. With the stuff, I don't know that I even heard the question. With the stuff I saw, I just goes right into the cult stuff.
Yeah, that's the first guy. Like if he's trying to ask the guy if he's his friend and stuff like that. But it was the second guy, and the guy asked him something about just completely unrelated. I think it was about whether or not he came back too quick, and did he think the foot factored into Moxley beating him as quick as he was. And instantly his answer goes right back to what he was talking about, and it's all like, that's it. And he's got, and again, I'm not saying it's scripted, I'm saying it's canned. So what guys used to do, where you sit around and think all day about what you're going to say, and then you go out and do it, man. It's just, it's great. It's great for the company. I'll tell you that. I love that. But the main thing is, because I'm a dick, it's really fun to watch a bunch of fucking blowhards have to eat a whole bunch of shit about MJF. MJF's going to WWE. He's going to put Tony Khan on the bench. He's going to go to WWE. And the thing is, he is going to WWE right after he wins that AEW championship. And then the forbidden door will be the annihilated door, and everyone's going to work everywhere, and it will be awesome. Because Triple H is smart enough to know you cannot call them independent contractors and not have them work everywhere. He is not going to give them employee status. He's going to have them be independent contractors like they actually are, and everyone's going to go everywhere, and it's going to be awesome. I believe that as much as I'm sitting right here. The best way to do that is to have MJF beat CM Punk for the championship. And they just told you in the little voicemail that Tony Khan left him, they just told you, I'll give you $, and I'm not going to make you sign an extension or anything. And what clip did they run? CM Punk from the Summer of Punk. That's exactly what they're going to do, because that was the whole thing, is like, okay, Punk won the Ring of Honor championship, and now he's signing his WWE contract. Is this guy going to walk out of here with the title? But they didn't do that in Ring of Honor. That's exactly what they're going to do in AEW. I'll be shocked if that doesn't happen. MJF is going to do his thing and fly right and all that good stuff. He's going to win the championship, and then he's going to go to WWE. And then he'll just go back and forth like everybody else will. I'm convinced that's what they're doing. Everybody's in them together. They have been for a long time. It's the reason, like I said, man, Vince got shown the door because he was standing in the way of somebody higher up than him. And yes, they exist, especially when your business partners include Fox Broadcasting. If you think they're more important people in the building than Vince McMahon at Fox, you're out of your mind. He ain't shit. He is not a bead of sweat on the ass of half the people in that building. So once they see the opportunity to make money, which Paul Levesque will more than happily show them, Vince is gone. Vince is out the door. All you have to do is look at what Vince got fired for. People get away with that shit all the time. But no, if it was a big deal, if keeping
it's just
him
enough ammunition for us to finally get you out of here, because you won't just Queen, you won't do the right thing like the good Queen did and just pass away.
We'll do it for you. Exactly. It's like, look, man, we are going to make a lot of money over here. Your horse shit ego doesn't mean nothing to us because it doesn't put dimes in my piggy bank. And that was the whole problem. It's the whole problem. It's what happens ultimately with, tyrannical capitalism, is if you get Big Daddy, who's then all of a sudden like, well, I don't want to do that. Nobody cares. The beast does not care. Capitalism says if there's a dime to be made, make it 11 cents. And if you don't, there's the door. That's exactly what happened to Vince. He let his ego get in the way, so the people higher up than him and his son-in-law, and I also believe his daughter, were like, bye, Pop. I'm 100% convinced that's what happened. And the end game is to just get everybody wrestling everybody. It's going to be great for all of us, man. I love it. But yes, the MJF thing is very funny because, oh man, he's going to bankrupt AEW. And then as soon as he takes the title, oh man, AEW's done, they're going to be bankrupt now. But that's what people say. It's weird. It's strange to me that for younger people, that's the one facet of the Monday Night War that they really, really, really want to see. Because if you wanted to see Stone Cold, you'd be watching John Moxley do his horrible ass cover version of it. We're not talking about that. It's about putting AEW out of business. And I'm like, I got bad news for you on that front. Vince McMahon didn't put WCW out of business. And Vince McMahon didn't beat Ted Turner. Ted Turner sold WCW way before the Monday Night War even started. He wasn't even there in 96. What happened was WCW eventually got bought by AOL Time Warner like everything else in the city of Atlanta. And they looked at it and said, what the fuck is this? And Vince made him an offer and bought it. Simple as that. I say it all the time. It's true. If you think WCW went bankrupt, you're wrong. You think they weren't worth about 17 times what Dixie Carter is worth, but her ass is still around, isn't it? Why? Because she still signs the checks. Tony Khan's got a hell of a lot more money than Dixie Carter does. So until he don't want to be around, they're going to be around. So just relax. And especially right now, I haven't seen it, But everything I've heard, WWE television has not been this good in decades. And I believe it because you and I have talked about it before. I will stand by it. What NXT was when Triple H was at the height of his creative, that's the best wrestling I've seen in a long, long time. AEW hasn't touched it. Ring of Honor at its best got right next to it, but not at the same time. It's like peak Ring of Honor, which is about 10 years before peak NXT. Nah, man. Yeah, man. Triple H is going to make fantastic. I love it. That's very exciting. I like the fact that the viewership for Raw is already back up because people are checking in. And I'm like, man, that's just plain cool. That's cool.
I think one of the things that kind of sows a little bit of a seed of them working together, because even after the show on YouTube or wherever it streams, is you have a weekend where there was 2 WWE shows and 1 AEW show, and Tony even makes the point like, yeah, I'm so pissed off, or however he put it, that they ran the 2 shows, and what's everybody still talking about? Their show and the stuff afterwards. So I think it's, another sign that it's something's coming where they'll be together.
I think so too. Tony Khan, every time he mentions WWE, especially on Twitter, people shit their pants, and it's like, y'all keep telling him to feed you because that's what he's doing. It's like, I just don't think that guy's what people think he is. People have way too quick of a tendency to look at Tony Khan and hear what his voice sounds like, and they got it figured out. And it's like, nah, man, I think the guy's smarter than you think he is. And again, the main thing with Tony Khan is he does not mind being the punchline. There's your massive difference between him and Vince. And it's like, no. This is going to be really good for all of us. It's going to be real good. And I think the main reason I think it's going to be so good is you and I've talked about it, and this is the reason that I have believed. Ultimately, the goal was to get the 2 companies, at least the big 2 companies in the U.S. to work together. I think everybody's eventually going to. But what is the biggest money match you could have in pro wrestling right now, bar fucking none? It's Reigns and Rollins and Moxley. That's it. You get the Shield back together and have them beat the crap out of each other in a 3-way. That's the biggest money match you could have. Someone's going to put it on. Someone's going to do it. And also, my main thing about, like, we've been talking about this for a long time, and my main point about WWE is never going to work with anybody else. No, WWE is smart enough to make the deal now while you are still so far out front that you pretty much get to book everything. Don't come back in a year. Don't let AEW, and damn sure don't let Phil Brooks do what he's doing for a year and then try to negotiate, because then you have to give up a hell of a lot more than you want to. But right now, WWE is still absolutely the power player in the equation, even with holding out. It's okay. You want to get them to the table, you have to give them what they want up to a massive, massive point. That point gets smaller and smaller the further you let it ride. And again, that's one of the reasons you make the move. It's like, Vince, you're not screwing this up. This is too much money to let sit there. Well, if we get 3/4, that 25% will be the biggest payday they've ever had. And it's like, so? And that's it. That's exactly where Fox versus WWE is right now. And it's great because it's just good for everybody. And I do need to set my DVR for Raw and SmackDown because I'm just so happy. People are so happy. I said it last time about the Batman movie. We're hearing people that love that movie talk about it. Man, it was so positive and so just a breath of fresh air because people were just positive. And it's the same thing. Ain't nobody talking about Monday Night Raw is going to put Rampage off of TV. No one's talking about that because no one cares. What they care about is that Raw is so good. That's it. That's all anyone cares about, is that this is fantastic and I'm enjoying it. It's like, hell yeah, that's exactly the way it should be, man. Love it.
One of my number one pleasant surprises from the Batman movie that I don't know if I made the point whenever it was I saw it and I talked with you about it is Robert Pattinson was one of those guys that when the Twilight movies were hot, he was like top of my list of like, I enjoy this now because you're never going to be heard from again. And luckily I was wrong on that one because he's really one of I can't say he's the best thing in the Batman movie, but I didn't despise it like I feared that I might. It's worth checking out, and it's a good time.
Um, Pattinson and Kristen Stewart both. I like both of them. I'm good with both of them. So I'm happy that they got their money, and I'm really happy that they parlayed it into careers of just doing exactly what they want to. But I too have my like, I have my one like petty pretty boy actor that I'm like, save your money, and it's what's his face from Baby Driver, West Side Story, Fault in Our Stars. All that kid is awful, and that's a crappy thing to say, but he's very pretty, and so people will pay to look at him, and that's cool. But it's like, for all the crap Pattinson took, I think it's Ansel Elgort, I think is that kid's name. The fact that nobody runs that guy down, I'll never understand, because he is a blow up doll. I mean, he's just no range. Basically, everything that people criticize Kristen Stewart for, that's him. It's just unbelievable, and I'm like, God, he's pretty. Lord help us.
Kristen Stewart's one of those that I guess I kind of felt the same way with pretty much that whole cast. Is like, we'll see. But then some of the stuff she's done post those movies, I thought even the Snow White movie, and I was like, man, she's really freaking good.
My favorite thing with her, again, over ability, is just taste, man. God, she picks cool stuff to be in. So I'm like, all right, it's just, man.
So speaking of people that have played royalty, Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, that's about to happen. Gosh, I can't believe I can't think of who it is. It's another Emma Stone, man. Dude, if Emma Stone says yes to it so very often in over the course of her career, so many of the things she's in are freaking awesome that I'm like, yes, if Emma Stone says yes to it, I probably need to check it out, man. Like freaking, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but Maniac on Netflix, the mini series that she and Jonah Hill did, man, that is one of my, pardon me, as many things as have been on Netflix that I really enjoyed, that is right there at the top of the list. It's just a fantastic show. I love it. I need to watch that again, actually. But I'm in the middle of something right now, so I got to finish that first. I have apparently decided to turn, based off of you mentioning it and the fact that I can't escape it. Unfortunately, I've decided to turn. I always get the name wrong. I think it's Everything Everywhere All at Once. I've decided to turn it into like a movie of the week or a mini series because I'm just watching it here and there. It's taking me like 4 days to finish it, but I will finish it tonight, and then I will let y'all know next time what I thought of it.
Yeah, man, it's that was a trippy one. That it's one of those like, I probably need to go back and watch that, but I'm just like, I hadn't made it around to doing that yet.
I remember
honestly, one of the things about the version of the movie that I saw was I didn't realize that I was seeing basically a re-release of it.
Sweet.
And I think one of the things that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way is before the movie ran, we've sat through the previews and all this other stuff you have to sit through if you go watch a movie in the theater. And then I think it's the writer and director, or maybe they're both writer and both director, do like this little intro to it that they thought was apparently hilarious. That I'm just like, I just turned the freaking movie on. And it was probably less than 5 minutes, but just something about that. I was like, and they just had that all at their butt kind of air about them. We're so funny. I was like, man, turn the freaking movie on. I didn't pay to see your ass tell me about it. And I don't know why, something about that just rubbed me the wrong way.
It's particularly, I understand that, man, because I'm with you. Previews are fun, but YouTube has really taken the fun out of theater previews.
Yeah.
And when they started running the goddamn Nissan commercials, I'm like, get the fuck on with it. I hate that. I don't like the Maria Menounos show. I don't like the car commercials, and I don't need an introduction from the director, especially after I've already sat through all that stuff I just mentioned. I'm with you on that. I totally understand that. That would have ticked me off too.
I never thought I would miss the days when that one Pepsi commercial with that little Haley kid. I would miss those days when that was all you had to sit through.
Mark Zuckerberg's sister.
Yeah, man.
I remember when I found out that like they actually are related. I'm like, holy crap! I didn't. Not Zuckerberg, but the kid that played him.
Yeah.
Jesse Eisenberg. That's her.
You can definitely see it once it's pointed out to you. Like, holy crap, that's it.
Yeah,
That's him.
especially like the cadence, like the way they talk. I'm like, oh man, oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I wouldn't have put it together, but when you tell me, I'm like, oh, I should have put that together.
Man, speaking of shows, I'm in the middle of, and well, speaking of trailers, that there's been all kind of stuff coming out from D23 that's going this weekend, and one of the ones that I'm so, when I saw, I haven't watched the trailer because it's one of those kind of trailers I don't even know that I want to watch a trailer. I just want to watch the show when it comes out. When I saw that the trailer was released, I remember like, oh yeah, they did say they were doing that. The freaking Willow show.
Oh my god.
Trailer is out. And I'm like, I don't even want to see it. I just want to see the show. Give that to me. But
Danielle, I interrupted you. I'm sorry, man.
No, I just wanted. I was just excited about that. There's all Marvel stuff coming out left and right and stuff. I was like, man, I'm gonna go watch it anyway. Stop telling me about it.
This I can dig. I'm gonna watch it. I'm probably gonna like it. All of it's fine. But I'm 100% with you, man. I'm very excited about Willow. I am so glad that, for all the talk about give George Lucas Star Wars back. No, I'm sorry. Look, I appreciate that is the Star Wars of your youth, and that's great that you guys like it, but they still fucking suck. And so, no, Star Wars is fine. Let it be what it is. However, as far as Lucas owned properties that I am so glad he is blowing the dust off of, man, there is nothing I could possibly be more excited about than Willow, man.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And then so Danielle sent me the preview, and I was like, it's not even a finally situation because I never really even thought about it. I'm just glad that he got to a point where he's all like, oh, let's revisit Willow. Warwick's still around. Warwick's looking good. Let's work with Warwick again. I'm like, oh my God, yes. By all means, work with Warwick again.
Life is short. We need to get the Willow show done.
What was I thinking about from that show the other day? Oh, man, I got I was thinking about these ones because I can't believe I've never seen her in anything else. That lady is just hilarious, man.
The perfect line that they missed out of, and just totally ruined the Obi-Wan show is you have Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon communing from beyond. It's like, we're closed.
Absolutely. Master Qui-Gon, we're closed.
but that's the sense that I just get because Qui-Gon's so bitchy to him about it. It's like, I've been here literally the whole time.
It's like the whole time studying improv comedy.
So what? I have a checking account with Mom's here.
I love it, man. That's awesome.
Oh, but man, another thing. Something I forgot. I meant to bring up last week, but it's kind of good that I didn't because I got another episode in. Is She-Hulk is just bad to the bone, and I really enjoy it and dig it a ton. I always get the actress name wrong, so I won't. But the one of the things I can say that really kind of blew me away with the second episode is how short these episodes are. Really is a problem because they leave you wanting so much more. Honest to God, the credits start rolling on the second episode. I thought it was just a really long intro into the credits, and then they're rolling. No, this is the end of the show. Oh crap!
Man, I can't be having the show cut short.
Honest to God, like 30 minutes is it.
Man,
That's all they get. And the last several minutes of it is credits. So, and they're quick and they're good. The one thing I can say that's a little bit frustrating is the CG does look like ass, and you can see the budget restraints in it. But I really think there could be some ways to go back to the old Lou Ferrigno TV show and other shows that have done actual actors playing this character from a distance, where not every time you see her has to be CG. And I think that's one of the things that makes it look kind of as bad as it does. Is you could do that, but
You could also. It's just an opinion from someone who hasn't seen the show yet, but just for all the complaints about the CG in Marvel recently, you can push on the fucking brakes. Slow down. Take your fucking time. And that's what's wrong is they keep jamming all this stuff out at light speed, and it's like, I guess my point is, it's Disney, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, budget constraints don't exist, and I'm not hearing that.
Yeah.
I ain't hearing you ain't got enough money to do it. I know you do, but it's
Yeah.
like you just take your time. It's okay, take your time. And the reason I guess I'm saying that is like you're talking about how the run times, the show episodes are only this amount of time. The other thing I've been working on lately does not have that problem, and it's Rings of Power.
Mm-hmm.
And I was over in Stricklandia, and of course, they love fantasy. So it's like, yeah, we're gonna watch Rings of Power. I'm like, cool, yeah, let's check it out. Let's see what's up. And all three of us loved the first episode and loved the second episode. And I'm very, very excited to see where they go, man, because it's exciting, man. It's pretty cool. But as far as the effects and the CG, yeah, it's time, because the Lord of the Rings shit is flawless. It looks fantastic, man. And part of it is because I'm pretty sure, based off of some of the visual effect, or like the physical effects, they hired Weta from the first two trilogies. Well, at least the first trilogy. And so it's nice. It's very nice and very cool. And so far, I'm really digging it, and they really dug it. And honest to God, the thing with the Lord of the Rings series is, all of the people I've talked to that actually watched it did like it. We were discussing it. Danielle was like, okay, the critical rating for this show is 89. The fan rating is 37. Why do you think that is? And I'm thinking, because critics actually have to watch it. Rotten Tomatoes does not require any user to have actually seen anything. Doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean anything, man. And by the time you get people that legitimately have a problem with it, there are people that don't like it. There's people that have a problem with it. And then there are the employees at Disney that they hire to get on there and spam down the rating because that's what everyone pays attention to. Of course it looks awful, or the initial ratings are terrible, but considering it was as bad as they were before the first show even came out, bullshit has a very distinct smell. This is it. But anyhow,
I think it could be HBO people trying to steer people over to their Game of Thrones show.
It is what it is, because the weird thing about the Game of Thrones thing is that HBO kind of invented that style. When you talk about Tony Khan being the punchline and putting out negative stuff, everyone says there's no such thing as bad press. You better damn well believe in the social media era, that's actually financially true. HBO invented this shit. HBO, I'm still convinced, got super mad at the Game of Thrones kids for wanting Hollywood money. And they said, here you go, 8 episodes. We're fast forwarding this shit. It's going to look like crap. It's going to sound like crap. We are going to destroy half of these characters, and wait till you see the backlash. Because when people 5 years later are still pissing and moaning about it on Twitter, we'll still be making money off of it. They knew exactly what they were doing, man. But they tanked it. The last season is as bad as everybody thinks it is because they tanked it. They wanted it to be that bad. That's what they were going for, because it's all like, you can't finish this and make everybody happy. So what we might as well do is take the last episode of Seinfeld and do it as our last season. Here's to you. It's exactly what they did, man. Excuse me. But we're going to go back, and we're going to do House of the Targaryen, and everybody's watching it, aren't they? Everybody's lined up. Everyone's signed up, and it's like, man, if y'all are going to keep going back for this shit Sunday, don't complain about it. It's all good. Just don't complain about it. It's the same thing. I think about this because this is the first official Saturday of college football, I guess, or the second one. And it's just, you know how it is, man. Earlier in my life, not too terribly long ago, man, you get a Saturday in the fall, I can tell you everybody that's playing everybody else, I'm excited about it. I'm amped up. It's all good. Man, I didn't give a fuck today. I didn't care. I was very excited that Atlanta United played today. Got 4 goals in Toronto. But it's just, I used to love college football, but I don't like what it became, so I don't watch it anymore. So don't tell me it can't be done. It's like, if you don't like it, skip it. And if all you want to do is piss and moan about it, you know what? That's okay too, but they're gonna make money off of you. So I don't know. It's just, if you don't like it, you shouldn't watch it. That's the way I feel about that. House of Targaryen I haven't seen yet, and honestly probably won't, because I don't know, man. I've got. Let me take that back. Let me let the people that I know that like that stuff, when they watch it, they can tell me if I should watch it or not. Because that was the Everything Everywhere with that. It seemed interesting to me as a concept, and then one of my buds, Aaron, point blank, he's like, "Yeah, you should watch that movie. I think you would dig that movie," because he knows I love that kind of stuff, man. Because he grew up as a huge X-Men guy, and we love the X-Men. So alternate versions of yourself, I love things like that. So he was like, "Yeah, you should definitely watch it," and he was right. I've really enjoyed it so far.
I mean, one of the things that got me out to see that movie too was everybody was just going on and on about Lon Duck Dong coming back. I had no idea that he'd basically retired from the business.
That's cool,
and,
man.
Was, doing his own thing, kicking it. And they came to him with it, and he was like, "It sounds cool as shit. I'll do it."
That's cool, man. It's cool. It's neat to see Michelle Yeoh, just because the only thing Crouching Tiger, all of us that grew up in Crouching Tiger, man, it's like, yeah, she's cool as hell. So it's neat to see. I mean, obviously the fight choreography, she still gets to use that, but it's different, and it's like, that's cool. And also, this is a tribute to really my brother and my sister-in-law. But if Jamie Lee Curtis is in it, I'm in, man, because
Yeah.
she is so cool. She's just so cool, and the role she's playing in that is a perfect example of how cool she is, man. Like, all right, that's awesome. Anyway, got sidetracked, but the point I wanted to make, though, about the main point about Lord of the Rings is, yeah, they do not have the time constraints on the episodes, man. They're like an hour a piece, which is just
Cool.
awesome. By the time you get done with it, I think, oh man, I think the season honestly is 8 episodes, which again, when they're an hour a piece, and the last one might be longer, that's very impressive. That's the trilogy's. That's actually more than that. It's 4 movies. Well, no. Let me take that back. For them being 3-hour movies, you basically have a trilogy's worth of screen time. It's great, man.
I just got a terrible fear. It's like, how about we take this great property from the late '80s? We got Val Kilmer back in Maverick. Now I get to see Willow as a little kid.
Oh man, yes. If we turn Willow into a prequel, I might hang myself, because I'm just,
God.
again, I'm so sick of us hanging out with the same people all the time. It's still, for me, it's the downfall of Star Wars. It's just, I can't stand it. And I understand the downfall of Star Wars is supposed to be switching off from those people, but I'm like, nope, it was tying them in there in the first place. I don't need, again, I don't need Grandpa Emperor. Come on. I don't need Darth Vader to be at the center of every fucking thing. Oh God, please change the record. And the reason I beat that point to death so much is, as you and I have talked about, the 2 most beloved things they have done. Yes, Vader was involved, and yes, there are characters you'd recognize in The Mandalorian. However, as the primary focal point of the series, The Mandalorian, and the focal point of Rogue One, they do not have characters that you know. And people love those things. And it's so cool. And I really hope that some, focus group somewhere will tell them that, and they'll start doing that more often. Because yes, you can make it in the same timeline, but man, go over here. It's worked. You've done it at least twice very successfully. And man, people, again, it's not just that they were successful. It's that when you talk to people about Rogue One, when you talk to people about The Mandalorian, it's not just popular. They really are beloved. So it's like, all right, you're close. You're real close, man. Keep going.
It's another. I heard somebody talking about the She-Hulk show, and one of the points they had made that they were kind of expecting or could use more talking to the camera, and I think they do it just right in the show. There's just enough of it, but not too much. But one of the jokes that I'll I'll spoil, but I thought was hilarious was there's the theme of the show is Jennifer Walters having to help Emil Blonsky, who is the abomination from the old Edward Norton Hulk movie, and she's having before she takes the case, she's got to go check with cousin Bruce, be like, or is it Uncle Bruce or cousin Bruce? Anyway,
cousin, I think you're right.
And it's kind of like, I kind of want to run something by you, and I think his line is, Jennifer, I was a totally different person back then. And you get one of those kind of like, so you see that joke coming from a mile away, so it's not a spoiler, but it's one of those kind of
still good stuff, man. You're right, they are cousins, and the reason I remember, this is so stupid, but I made some really dumb Twitter post one time. I was reading old Fantastic Fours, and She-Hulk was in the Fantastic Four. When the Thing went to live on the battle planet, She-Hulk replaced Thing in the Fantastic Four. And it's one of those things where I love the Fantastic Four. I love the She-Hulk, and the Thing is my favorite character. And man, it's like when Bucky Barnes was Captain America. Steve is dead. Bucky's Captain America, and those books are incredibly good. Same thing. You take the Thing out of the Fantastic Four, and it's some of my favorite issues, man. It was just too much fun, and it was too cool. But anyway, there's this one panel. John Byrne's women were very, very good. He just drew very, very pretty women. And there was this one picture of the She-Hulk that looked, it's crazy. It looked so much like Cheryl Lee from Twin Peaks. And I just took a picture of it and posted it. And it was so dumb, but my caption was, she's Banner's cousin, but doesn't she look almost exactly like Laura Palmer? It's dumb, but I was proud of it. So, yes, they are cousins.
One thing I won't spoil, you can Google it if you choose. I will not spoil who plays her parents, and specifically her dad, who is another really popular cousin from a 90s TV show that when you see him pop up, you're like, oh man, that dude, kick ass. I like seeing that guy.
That's cool, man.
It's a fun, and he shows up a few times. Just a few episodes that are out. It's like he kind of hangs around. You're like, oh man, I like seeing that dude.
Dude, that's cool, man.
And but it's one of those kind of cameos that you see, and I heard it was another podcast I was listening to, and they were like rattling off the ages of some of these characters that we watched back then. Thought, man, George Costanza in like season 1 of Seinfeld is supposed to be like 31 or something like. You're like, no freaking way. But this, I think, particular character, and they were talking about the same show. The actors for this cameo, I think he said at some point in time during the show he was like 28. You're like, no freaking way.
Come on.
That's not. I don't buy that one. But it's just weird how some of those ages seem so ancient back then that now it's like But to go back and watch it, that's not accurate. He's not actually that age. He's cast ass.
Excuse me. Oh, I can't buy it, guys. I can't buy it. But yeah, She-Hulk is of course I'm drowning in Disney Plus. There's a lot of stuff on there that I need to watch. But that's one that I definitely, as I love. Again, being a Byrne fan, what John Byrne did with the She-Hulk was wonderful. It's just such a fun character. And then, like you say, with like the fourth wall stuff and things like that, clearly they're incorporating that. But also, I've heard that, again, not that it's the books, not that they're making the books, but like the Hawkeye series. Oh, shoot. I absolutely just forgot. No, Matt Fraction. Literally the Matt Fraction comic book. It's not what they made, but it's definitely what inspired it. And it's the same thing with She-Hulk and Dan Slott. Dan Slott's She-Hulk is some of the most fun I've ever had reading a comic ever. So I'm like, yeah, that's going to be cool. And I've talked to people at work that were a little bit critical, but one person was kind of tripping on it. And I'm like, what did you not like specifically? Oh, well, I haven't looked at it yet. And it's like, you could tell. You could just, with them talking junk, it was all like, all of this came off of internet comments. You have not watched it. don't bother. And I had one dude tell me, really, you like Sandman? Because, all I've heard is bad stuff. And I'm like, you need to watch it for yourself, brother. So, have a look, see what you think. Well, my friends that read the books, and I'm like, oh, your friends like me. Here's the thing. Your friends read the book. That means they experienced the book in their own head. And okay, if they don't like it, that's all right. Because it's very, very faithful to the book. And if you want it to be exactly the way it was when you read it, okay, I can give you that. I myself am really happy with what they did because it was either exactly what I hoped it would be or it was way freaking better. They made several decisions that were far better than what I did when I read it the first time or the second time or the third time. But yeah, it's just people like to start fights over that stuff. But that was the whole She-Hulk things I was just talking about. Yeah, I'm excited about that show because I love that character. Oh, I heard it's terrible. Oh, it's awful. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, what specifically don't you like? Because the two things that I'm waiting on are the fourth wall break, which is clearly a Deadpool ripoff, or the humor. And I'm like, She-Hulk, when she was savage, didn't sell a damn book. When John Byrne made her a comedy character, it became one of the most endearing and fantastic characters of all time. And basically, it was the thing he always understood about Ben Grimm. The parallels between Ben Grimm and Jessica. I always say Jessica Walters because that's an actual actress, the one from Arrested Development. Jennifer Walters. The parallels between those two people, Ben and Jen, as they are called in several of their. There was this like one-off story that was the two of them in like a Marvel team-up kind of thing. It was great, so good, man. But John Byrne understanding the best version of Ben Grimm, he knew how to make the best version of her too, because they're very similar characters. It's just that you go up to a certain point, then all of a sudden Ben becomes Ben, Jen becomes Jen, and it's like it's pretty great stuff, man. I love it. I love those characters, and I'm really happy that I don't know. I'm happy that She-Hulk is happening, and I'm glad you're digging it, man. Because again, everybody I've talked to is all crappy about it, but none of them have watched it. So you're the only person I've talked to that's actually seen it. So that's very, very cool to get positives on it.
And what I guess one of the things I'm getting kind of excited about is talking about the Hawkeye show. Is there's already people trying to speculate like, oh, Kingpin's behind all this stuff that's going on. So I'm like, I hope they're right.
Yeah, that would be fantastic, man, because I know we talked about it, that a lot of good came out of the Daredevil show, but D'Onofrio's Wilson Fisk is definitely my favorite thing. God, he was good. So yeah, bring him on back. I'm great with that.
And speaking of trailers kind of spoiling stuff, I mean, they've already pretty much told you that Daredevil's showing up, and you're like, well, that's another good sign. Kingpin's involved.
Hey, listen, we've talked about this for a long time, and there are other people that review this stuff that have talked about it for. But here's the thing. I'm not saying we got there first because I don't know. Matter of fact, I'm sure most of these people, as soon as they saw the slate of shows that were coming out to Disney Plus first run, immediately put together Cosmic Marvel is for the movies. Street Marvel, that's what the TV shows are for. And that's exactly what they've done. It's why it's so cool. But yeah, I like the getting into the courts. I think that's very fun. And I hope that God, what was that book called, man? It was Damage something. I can't believe I forgot it. Man, it was like this monthly comic where you had like the group that had to go in after the big fights and clean. It was hilarious. It was really funny.
They're in the show.
That's what I'm talking about.
Damage Control.
That's it. Thank you. Yes, that's very funny. That because they always had some really good storylines there. So yes, to incorporate that is great. I'm happy to hear that.
It's been kind of one of the things that's kept some of these movies going. Is like, who's going to clean up all this shit?
Yeah, dude. The fact that my favorite thing with that, because I've had several people that were, okay, so the Avengers go in and cause more damage than if they just let the city get wrecked. That's crazy. And I'm like, you do realize that Marvel made that joke at their own expense decades ago, right? You just have to convince people sometimes that the guys that worked at Marvel, yes, they were a bunch of pot-smoking hippies, but they were pretty freaking smart too, man. They knew what they were doing. Not saying Stan. I love Stan, but that's not what I'm saying. It's like you and I've always said about Stan, man. Stan Lee was the ultimate. Stan Lee's like the place kicker. Place kicker always starts the game. No matter what you think about place kicking, if you ain't got them, you can't start the game. But boy, once you start the game, the talented players take over. They make the plays. It's fantastic. And then every now and again, Stan gets to make a cameo at the end of the game and kick the field goal and win. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of those guys, a lot of the people like in old Marvel and recent Marvel too, they've had some really good writers. So it's like, damn, this is cool. It's something I've always been so impressed by with Marvel, because you have to operate within the 616. You have to know what's going on in Daredevil, and you have to acknowledge what's going on in Westchester. You can't just go make your own book. It's like, I don't know how anyone ever pulls that off. That's impressive, man.
Heck yeah, man.
What are things in the Baxter building like? Because boy, you better believe it's gonna wind up there. Reed's gonna be involved.
Yep. Lots of stuff to coordinate.
It's very impressive. I've always been, I don't know, anytime I get like old stuff, I love to like check like months and release years and things like that to see when you're reading things that are going on at the same time and if it lines up. And so often it does. It's super cool.
That does remind me of some of the news that came out of D3. Is I want to get the guy's name right. Because they've announced the director of the Fantastic Four movie. And when you hear the name, you're going to be like, who? But you are familiar with his work because it's the director of WandaVision. It's this, crap. And now my computer's messing up. And he directed a lot of the Matt Shakeman, I believe is the director's name, and he directed a lot of the what's the name of the show? All I can think of is Curb Your Enthusiasm, Arrested Development.
Oh, nice.
And he had pretty much directed every episode of WandaVision, and I think Disney likes what he did with WandaVision so much. They're like, do you want to do Fantastic Four? And he was like, yeah.
Yeah. Tuning into WandaVision and hiring anybody involved with it in any way for any long-term employment, I'm 100% okay with it. I'm
Good
totally
move.
okay with that decision. I loved that show. That's my other thing is what I need to do is I guess just save up like 6 months worth of subscription for Disney Plus because I got so much stuff to watch now. And I know I'm going to watch WandaVision again because I loved it. But I don't just want to turn it on and watch that and be like, oh, well, I saw it, I'll turn it off. Because, man, I need to catch up with Moon Knight. I still haven't seen Loki. I haven't seen Moon Knight, Loki, She-Hulk. I really want to see Hawkeye. I haven't seen. And it's like, what's wrong with you, man? I'm too far behind.
The one thing I can say, man, there are definitely ones that I like more than the other, but they are all worth your time.
Yeah, as many of them as there are, I can believe that.
Halfway through Moon Knight, I was reaching out to people asking like, will somebody please explain to me what's going on? Because I don't have a freaking clue. But at the same time, it's still good.
Yeah, I can dig it. Moon Knight, my main thing with Moon Knight is I've never read a ton of that book. Moon Knight to me is like Dr. Fate in the regard that I really don't know anything about those characters. I just love the design of them. I've always been such a sucker for what they look like that I'm like, yeah, Moon Knight's awesome and shit. I don't know. I haven't read it. But beyond character design, I know we talked about it, but it's true. If you cast Oscar Isaac to read, stovetop stuffing instructions for 6 30-minute episodes for a season, I'll watch it. I'm going to watch every single episode. I want to hear him describe which onions he uses in his. It's stupid, but I love that guy. So I'm like, oh yes. And also, in keeping with something that you and I talked about with Benedict Cumberbatch, with Chadwick Boseman, God, who was the other one that was like? I would say Cate Blanchett, but it's different. It's different. But as far as like your big time casting for who you're going to have carrying your stuff forward, man, when they cast, it's very cool. And so I'm like, yes, I'm good with this. I'm cool with this. I didn't realize. I knew I liked Elizabeth Olsen, had no problem with her, but I did not realize what a wonderful choice that was until it's like, okay, we might actually be headed that way because man, she's good. So I love that. Oh, sorry, it'll come back to me in a second, man. But anyway, yeah, when you cast like hitters to play the planks in your stories going forward, it's like, oh yeah, it's good. And so that's my thing with Moon Knight is like, guys, not a lightweight, man.
You you didn't hear anybody belly aching over the recasting of War Machine, because that was definitely an improvement when you have
Absolutely, that's a massive, massive upgrade.
yeah. So, but yeah, I can't say that they've made any decision where I was like, really, him, you know.
Yeah, I'm with you. And like, they're one kind of like you were saying earlier about there's ones you like better than others. There have been Marvel casting decisions that I was really excited about, and there were others I didn't know nothing about. So you just wait and see. And man, every time when I waited to see, when I finally saw them, like, nice work. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm good. I like all of it. I think it's cool, man. And so it was like that with um, for Pete's sake, Elizabeth Olsen. I got Ashley stuck in my head. Elizabeth Olsen. I'd only ever seen her in one other thing, and it was okay. But I like casting people I don't know anything about. I mean, it's either way, whichever way you go, man. They've definitely earned the benefit of the doubt when it comes to. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right, man. Because I don't know. Why not? I don't know. I guess it's still. I haven't watched any in a long time, but I do that for a reason. I have so many people that I talk to, several people I talk to at work that are like, God, Phase 4. I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of this. And that goes back to what I was saying about the bad CG, man, is give people a fucking break. People are burnt out on this stuff. I myself haven't burnt out on it, but it's because I haven't watched anything in forever. So I don't know, man. Make that decision for people. Make it, leave them wanting more. Make them come back to you. It's not like people are not going to subscribe to Disney Plus if there's not a new Marvel series next month. It's okay.
There's still plenty of stuff without even turning that stuff on that you can get down with.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you could just turn it on today and work through all the stuff you wanted to watch, and then turn the Marvel stuff. You got time. It's okay. No reason to push, man.
No, man, there's a freaking live action Pinocchio starring Tom Hanks as Geppetto that I'll probably be watching in the morning just because I'm that ready to see it.
This I understand totally, man. That's awesome.
I'm still waiting for well, hopefully they won't do this with the way the characters looked in The Lion King, but man, give me a live action Sword in the Stone, Robin Hood, stuff like that is what
Yeah,
I'm really holding out for. And
I can dig it.
put it straight on the app. You ain't got to put it in the theater. I'll find it. I'll watch
Yeah,
it.
it's I
They, when the app first kicked off, I think it was that Christmas they put their live action Lady and the Tramp on there, and I had a fun time watching that. You talk
yeah.
about probably one of the first Disney movies I remember seeing was that, and it was fun to go back and watch it and be like, I don't remember this.
I yeah, I'm with you. I don't know what, like, Disney live action is just, it's not that it's never done it for me, because some of them I've really enjoyed. But Lion King I never saw, and I never saw it because I just don't like the Lion King, period. I don't like the animated one. It's not my movie. I don't care about it.
That's just the one that really the live action served no purpose
Oh,
whatsoever.
absolutely. It's one that's the opposite of what we were talking earlier about, like where Batman people like genuinely were happy about it. Man, anytime you do anything, people are gonna bitch about it. You're gonna get the fake, artificial, like the oh shoot, the Lord of the Rings, dude. All the criticism of that, it's just your canned bullshit. It's the same shit. You can't have a black guy play an elf. That's literally what people are upset about, and it's like, get the fuck out of here. Nobody cares about this shit. You don't care about this shit. You're just either looking for attention or you're getting a check from Disney to stir this shit up. But
I
do you
think
want to
there
hear
are
my
some
conspiracy?
people out there that want to find the one thing that nobody's complained about,
Get out of here. It's like, yeah, if you thought that bending the race in a cast was not going to get touched on, yeah, people do that because they're that dumb. But I said Disney, and that's not fair. It's Amazon. But I'll tell you this: do you want to hear my like dark side of the ring conspiracy theory about? Okay, if you're Jeff Bezos and you spend $1 billion, which does not equal a tenth of your, got even a percentage of your wealth. You own the Washington Post, right? I think it's the Post. He owns one of the big DC papers. All right. So apparently, for critique, for like user comments on the Lord of the Rings series on Amazon, they're shut down now. You can't review it. You can't comment on it. You can't say anything. Well, it's because it became a hotbed for racial abuse, excuse me, against this actor. And I have no doubt you sold that guy out and exactly got the end result that you wanted to be able to censor people. Because hate speech, we have already deduced in this country, is not protected by the First Amendment. But what happens is when you ban hate speech, you just shut the whole thing down, which means that nobody, regardless of what they are saying, has a voice. It's literally a way to get around the Constitution. It's ridiculous and it's frustrating because otherwise you could have people spouting the most nasty, misogynistic, hateful, racist shit they could come up with. But once you found a way to make it better, that's why I try to explain to people. The reason that racism and sexism are kept alive, as far as us as white people go, is because it keeps us from talking about anything else. Anything else. And the reason it's kept alive in that version is because you can use this very real problem to then censor everybody that says anything about your stuff. And along the way, any legitimate criticism of you that's got nothing to do, no mentions of race, well, those get gone too. Because the only way to eliminate hate speech is to eliminate all speech, and Bezos has found the key. That's what I'm convinced. I'm convinced that's what's going on. Because people like Jeff Bezos, all they fucking care about is power. Because what the hell else does he have to care about? He's got more money than Jesus Christ himself. Get the fuck out of here. That's the only thing you have left to do now is make yourself a god. And so if you want to be infallible, people can't say shit against you. It sounds silly and it sounds crazy, but it's the only thing that makes any sense. But as far as legitimate criticism of Lord of the Rings, there ain't any, because all those negative comments came before the shit even came out. Now, if you watch it and you don't like it, that's okay, but it ain't got nothing to do with that shit you're talking about. And the actor they're talking about is fine. I don't care for the storyline because it's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault, and it's exactly what they should do. The storyline they're going with is what they should go with. But anytime you have the forced romance, I kind of rankle at that. But that's me. That's a personal thing. I don't like forced romance, but I will say this: they have one very interesting, I think, especially when you do factor in the ethnicity of the guy playing the elf. They have a very interesting dynamic in that it feels to me like it was the Confederacy element from Hunger Games, which sounds crazy. Nobody believes me, but I'm like, oh, that's because you're not from the South. But if District 13 didn't sound an awful lot like the Confederacy to you, the side that lost and then was shunned, that sounds familiar to me. But you have this woman who's from like the region that most supported Sauron. And she's not a bad person. The people from there aren't bad people. Their ancestors made some really stupid mistakes, but they still get punished for those ancestral mistakes. Excuse me, because for the story, people in the modern world are still concerned. Excuse me, you guys are too drawn to power, too drawn to the dark side, can't trust you. So with him being a black guy and her being, she's not exactly white, but I don't know. I don't know if she's Latina or Italian or just straight up white. I really don't know. But that's the dynamic, that the black guy's playing the elf and the white lady is playing the second class citizen. And I'm like, you can do some interesting stuff here. To that part, the main thing is with the storyline is I'm just a jerk about the romance stuff because it just doesn't appeal to me. Nobody's wrong. Well, if anybody's wrong, I am, because what you're doing is very marketable and people love it in their stories. So it should be there. So I don't mean to sound like it's that critical, but the main point is they're 2 episodes in. So you got a ton of story left to go. And some of the avenues that you've put out that you might potentially walk in this story, those are fascinating. That's obviously that's the only storyline in it that I'm not invested in yet. But you can get me there. It's cool. It's a cool show. I like it, man. But anyhow, I got way sidetracked. But sorry, I don't know. It's that part was cool. They had this one little conversation in the second episode, and I'm like, the fact that we're even mentioning this is really good. But yeah, if you're like using this as a jump, and if it never comes back up, it never comes back up. But man, if they use that for a jumping off place to get into a kind of an odd conversation, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Let's see that. I love stuff like that because I'm a dork, but it's okay. So I'm a pretty dork, and that's all that really matters.
Delicious.
They're delicious.
Yeah, man, that's what's up. That's all I know. It's really going down.
This is good stuff, y'all. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you a ton for giving me the message, man, because I'm like, that sounds like a good plan to me. This is awesome. This is always fun, but just in particular this time.
Heck yeah, man. That's what's up.
Hell yeah. Take care, y'all. Thank you.
I'll see y'all.
Yeah.